they desperately need the people to prey on, which of course is us. Now, for them to prey on our wealth, they ceaselessly watch what we do and involve themselves in everything. Now, in this story, they're involving themselves in a transaction between a hotel and its customers. Now, they come out of the blocks predictably, painting it in a certain way, in this case saying that it's lewd. Well, that's very subjective, and really between the publican and the customers involved. I mean, someone might hear about it, or in this case seen it on Facebook. Oh, well, I don't like that. Well, that's fine. It's still got nothing to do with you. There's no compulsion for someone on the other side of the country, or even in Adelaide itself, to get down there. It's just something, if you want to do it, you do it. So on the right-hand side, oh, look, I love this. Look how criminal this is. A popular Aussie pub has copped a hefty fine for trading free drinks in exchange for guest bras. The larger the bra, the more drinks on offer. This is a story on Yahoo News, and they lifted it off Channel 9. But can they actually issue a fine for lewd bra promotion? I mean, how would that be captured in legislation? I don't think there's any clause. You know, hotels are forbidden from trading drinks for bras. I mean, and if you had some kind of wording that, well, it can't be lewd, well, it's too subjective. You'd have to put them before a licensing board and get their side of the story. You couldn't just issue a fine. As you find out, that's not what actually happened.
Hindley Street nightclubs in hot water over a lewd promotion offering free drinks based on women's breast size.
So Channel 7, they got their deception meter off the scale, not mentioning bra, just women's breast sizes. They're going to mention bras in a minute, but that's not what they open with. It's like, come here ladies, how big are you? Yeah, you get this, you get a shot glass. Oh, you get a scooter.
The Woolshed had been encouraging patrons to undress, and when authorities made their move...
Now, nowhere did they say for the women to come in and get undressed. That's an out-and-out lie, by the way. That's the news. I should put in a complaint.
They discovered another alarming breach.
A breach more alarming than get women to get undressed, show their bra. She hasn't mentioned the bras yet, just show their breasts for 3 drinks. So it's got, hang your bra in the shed. Look, I'm envisaging, women, I said men as well, but, women with, some worn out attire going down there. Oh, I'll get 2 free drinks. Here you go, hang it up. No one even knows it's mine. Here I am with a couple of beers or whatever. And that's how I think, it would certainly work in part. Look, maybe some girls, after a few, might get encouraged. Maybe that's starting to venture into inappropriate territory. Anyway, back to this more, just as alarming breach.
It offered free drinks for bras.
A reporter, a few minutes in by now, finally gets to the truth of the matter, that it is to do with bras. If I put my complaint in, I go, no, look, see? So we did mention the truth eventually.
But ultimately, it's the Woolshed that's copped the dressing down.
I think it was inappropriate on a number of levels.
The winter promotion encouraged patrons to let loose. The bigger the breasts, the more free drinks.
Now, they actually showed the signage that didn't mention breasts, and then they said that it mentioned breasts. They're even showing that they're lying. Is that some kind of mitigation? They can go, well, we lied at the same time as showing the truth.
The lewd stunt slammed by the regulator as misogynistic, inappropriate and in breach of the liquor licence code of practice.
I'll just throw in misogynist. See how bad it is? It's misogyny. I think there's call for some misogyny. There's a lot of women I hate. I hate fucking von der Leyen, a chick over in Europe. Hillary Clinton, pretty sure that's justified. But a code of practice, well, that's a voluntary arrangement as part of the licensing. It's not in the legislation where you'd have penalty units, $4,000. So what have they been fined for? Get to that now. Look at this guy. He's got to head out there. They must rehearse and rehearse. I mean, how could you go out there and not start pissing yourself laughing at this story? But he does all right, though. He pretends he's serious. He actually pretends to take it seriously. He's not bad.
Venues aren't allowed to have gender-based promotions. They're not allowed to serve drinks for free after midnight.
The offer only lasted a day but sparked a flurry of complaints and then an investigation into the venue.
All right, teams of inspectors headed down now. Their liquor inspectors are down there. All right, where are these bras? How many did you get? Oh, this is a big one. How many drinks were given for this? It's an investigation. I've got my notepad out, making contemporaneous notes. We're seizing these bras, we're putting them in an exhibit bag, sealing them up. We'll see you in court.
That exposed another breach with their security cameras. Inadequate CCTV with too many black spots.
Now that would be a finable offence. Measurable, been able to determine that it's not working. Yep, okay, this area is not covered. That's this offence under this section of legislation. Here's your fine. By the way, well, what are they? Well, all the cameras working. Then they're saying, well, they're asking girls to get their gear off. Hotel was showing some discretion. Maybe that's why they'd have turned off. Which means this headline is an absolute lie. Aussie bar fined $3,900 over lewd bra promotion. No, it's a code of practice. But they did get fined. For the cameras. Geez, they love to lie and deceive.
The fines totalling nearly $4,000.
It should be more. That's sexual harassment. That's gross.
None of it's voluntary with consent.
It's protecting women and also upholding their dignity, and I think that's really important.
Now, after showing two idiots...
I'm not forcing anyone to do it, and if they want to, it's their choice. I don't think anyone should be fined for it.
So they had to show someone with common sense, or otherwise they'll alienate all their audience with common sense. They go, I'm not watching this news station anymore, it's full of shit. Oh, hang on, someone spoke some sense. All right, I might come back.
The owner of the woolshed declined to comment today. If the woolshed's caught breaching the code again, the Commissioner says he does have the option of taking them to court, which comes with a maximum penalty of $20,000.
Yeah, so they couldn't issue a fine because lewd hasn't been determined yet. They need to put it before a magistrate. And it's not a fine, it's a civil penalty, as opposed to a fine written into legislation, which is what they said at the start. The fines are for the cameras. Oh, okay, this guy's turned up again.
I think this serves as a warning to venues that we are monitoring advertising, we are monitoring the code.
This is the first time this expiation's been dished out since the gender clause was introduced in 2019.
They sort of covered him with that because on their Facebook page they actually said men can bring a bra in as well. So it wasn't even gender-based. So that's like the kind of humorous part of it, bit of a breakdown. But actually the main part of what I wanted to get across, particularly in the heading, is they desperately need the people to prey on. So what they're doing is, and this kind of story and these guidelines and codes of practice, what they need to introduce them into government activity and what they call their inspectors and everything, their inspectorates, because with constant surveillance where there's street cameras everywhere and at service stations. By the way, all of these cameras, if you go to some 7-Elevens, they have a little police sign, and also McDonald's have the police sign as well. They're part of the police surveillance network. All of these cameras are. Now, with the ability, because they're now partnered with the banks, the fact that the government can just raid your bank account means the banks and government, they're one and the same now. You could really reduce the number of police out there, and also all of these government departments that have sprung up that they want to impose the debt on, all of these inspectors, like over in America, they've got another 80-something thousand heavily armed IRS agents. The same thing happens in all Western countries here in Australia. But they don't need them. In fact, I'm surprised those cameras down at the hotel aren't also plugged into the police, although the police can demand any footage at any time anyway, so there's just a delay in getting it. But this constant surveillance and punishment network that they're building, and it's getting more and more embedded all the time, they don't need all these agencies. I mean, particularly with police, the only real work that you see them doing is domestic violence, because, you know, people haven't got jobs and there's a lot of pressure on the home front, and gang wars. Now, the gangs, they would know everything. They would monitor them, their phones, everything. Anything gangs get away with, the police let them go up until they get to a point, and then 50 of them raid a house. They could have done it way before the drugs even got it, sure. But they don't want to do that. You see, with the constant surveillance, they could, at every port, you could never get a drug into the place. But they need to let that happen. So that way the police can then put on a big display on TV in their gear. And look, see, you need us. Keep giving us money. Keep racking up the debt. But they don't need. You could reduce the police force down to about 10% across the whole country. So the nature of crimes being committed these days is, I mean, you're still going to have your guys getting drunk, getting into fights and that sort of stuff. But the constant surveillance means response times and investigation times, it's just way down. So in order to keep the police, but more these bloated government agencies full of inspectors that aren't needed, they're expanding the scope of what used to be just normal behaviour in a pub. Like in Petersham, in Sydney, they had a topless bar. That girl just walked around topless, and that was accepted. Now, admittedly, it was all the windows were blacked out, and that pub has since closed. It was on the corner. I'm pretty sure it's closed, or if it doesn't do the topless anymore. But that's what they're doing, is now having these enforcement officers getting involved in what used to just be acceptable behaviour. And now we've got this e-safety commissioner and hate speech. So all of these agencies are now watching us, hunting us down, and any wrong speech, there's more to it than just controlling us. There's also justification for all of these agencies and the millions or billions that they cost us, that we have to borrow, that sends us into grinding poverty. Now, family court's also involved with it. Like, they have some functions, but they're always adding clauses to the regulations that involve the government more and more into the day-to-day of what's going on with families, as well as what's going on in pubs, watching everything you do. All right, that's pretty much it for this one. I'll just finish up with, the obvious. This licensee could be in on the whole thing, the way all the doctors who were licensed were in on COVID, along with the lawyers. They all just shut up, and then once the emergency declaration finished, they're all coming out, it was all terrible. Yeah, well, you weren't saying that at the time. So this licensee could even be in on this and just one big psyop. But the bottom line is, they're just expanding into the minutiae of our lives. You'll be tying up your shoelace one day. No, that's left hand over right hand, you idiot, on that foot. Here's your fine. Well, maybe not that, but you know what I'm getting at. All right, that's it for this one.